Okay, I'm getting the impression people don't understand just how bad this doctrine of annihilationism is. So, Watchwoman65 did a video. I watched it, read the comments, had a few comments on my channel. I already had to block 3 people. I don't think people are really grasping just how bad and how damaging this is. On the outside, it looks perfectly fine. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to believe that hell's eternal. As long as you believe the doctrine of the gospel, you're okay. Let me put this to you in a perspective you can understand. Imagine yourself saved by grace through faith, on point, believing the truth, well, up until you get to the part you don't like, so you change them to make them mean something else, so you don't have to acknowledge the fact that there's an eternal punishment for people. A coworker comes and sits down next to you, worked with this person for 5+ years, comes and sits down next to you at lunch and says, "Can you tell me about Jesus?" So you start preaching the gospel to them. You give them the gospel. Right near the end, they stop you and they ask you about hell. And you tell them hell isn't eternal. You tell them there is an eternal punishment. People that go to hell will go there and it is instant annihilation, and then everything is gone and your essence goes back to God, or whatever you want to make up to add to this doctrine. I've seen 5 or 6 different types of understandings on this. Now, you just spent 15 minutes of your lunch break preaching the gospel to this person, and in 2 minutes tell them hell isn't eternal. You know what that person's going to do? That person came to you because they were thinking about, man, I may be looking at some serious condemnation. Hell, the idea of hell is scary to me. I don't want that. Now you just gave them an out. Because now they're going to sit there and go, well, if hell isn't eternal, I have nothing to worry about. I can live however I want. I can go do all these things I've been doing. And I don't have to worry about salvation. I'll just go to hell and poop, and that's it. I'm gone. And they get up from the table and walk away. What good were you to Christ? In that moment, in that opportunity, in that divine appointment, what good were you to Christ? You didn't lead that person to Him for salvation. You gave them a false understanding that's going to lead them into eternity of destruction and punishment. And now, not only did you lead them into destruction, you didn't cast them there, you didn't push them there, you led them there. Their blood is going to be required by your hands. What do you think Jesus is going to do to you because you did that? You all need to understand how important this is. You need to understand the dire consequences associated with teaching an improper gospel and improper understanding of the truth contained in the scriptures. You can deny whatever you want, but when you teach other people that becomes a problem for you and for those other people. And there are channels teaching this. I want to read to you Ezekiel 33, 9 verses. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people. Say to them, when I bring the sword upon the land, and the people of the land take a man from their territory and make him their watchman, when he sees the sword coming upon the land, if he blows the trumpet and warns the people, then whoever hears the sound of the trumpet and does not take warning, if the sword comes and takes him away, his blood shall be on his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take warning. His blood shall be upon himself. But he who takes warning will save his life. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and the sword comes and takes any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. So you, son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear a word from my mouth and warn them for me. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, the wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your soul. This still stands. He's warning his own people. This guy, Ezekiel, that he lifted up and made a watchman, he blessed him with this incredible ministry, and then he gave him a condemnation and warned him, you better preach the truth, boy, because if you don't, I'm going to require the blood of all these people you lead astray from your hand. Now, go back to you sitting there talking to your coworker and what you just did to them. Do you think it's a random act that somebody comes up and asks you about Jesus? No. That's a godly appointment. He created that situation. He put that in your path, and you just screwed it up and caused that person to go into destruction. What do you think is going to happen to you now? You think because you believe in grace through faith that that's going to protect you? It says here, he will require the blood of that person by your hand. Ezekiel was a prophet of God, and God was telling him this. How much more do you think him worthy that treads the Son of God underfoot and treats the blood of the covenant as a common thing? If you're not willing to believe the truth, and you're more than happy to preach anything other than the truth to the people around you, you will have to answer for the people you lead into destruction. There are people that are being taught this hell is not eternal heresy, and they're turning away from salvation. There are new Christians that are in a lack of understanding right now, thinking, I can live however I want. I don't have to be saved. I'll just get vaporized and that'll be the end of it. Do you now see how this becomes a salvation issue? Because the people you tell that to that aren't saved aren't going to worry about getting saved. To them, it doesn't matter. It's an easy out. The doctrine of eternal torment is meant to terrify people and to scare them from going there. People think this is a bad thing. Remember when prison used to be hard labor? That terrified people and they didn't want to go back. And so they stayed out of jail. Now, since they took all that away, people run multiple businesses from jail. When they get out, they have millions of dollars sitting in banks waiting for them. I fail to see where the problem is here. The truth is the truth. So if you say you believe the truth, you damn well better believe all of it. Because if you're preaching this to somebody and you're causing them to ignore Christ in lieu of being vaporized, I've got news for you. You'll have to answer for this. Now, on the outside, this doesn't look like a salvation issue. But when you dig underneath it, and when you start looking at it in real life circumstances, you can see quite clearly this is a salvation issue. Not only for the person who denies Christ because you told them that they will just go to hell and get vaporized, but you, because you led them there. And now you will have to answer for that. Do you not think you will not be held accountable for the things that you teach? Paul told the Corinthians, not many of you should be teachers because we're judged with a greater strictness because of what we teach. That's why I keep saying it behooves you to teach the truth. It behooves you to study and learn so you know you're teaching a proper understanding. Now, when I showed that verse in Matthew 25:46, because they always love to use the Greek to try to prove their argument, that verse with the Greek disproves annihilationism. Yet I got railed on in my video and in Lisa Boyce's video. I'm okay with you railing on me. But the fact of the matter is, all the warnings that we need are in the Bible telling us we must call these things out. We must sound the alarm. We must warn people about this stuff. And annihilationism, as innocent as it seems, becomes a salvation issue. The moment you teach someone else that they don't have to get saved and they don't have to go to heaven because they can just go to hell and get vaporized and that'll be the end of it. Because of your inability to accept the truth, because of your inability to believe Christ and believe his words. You remember he said this. Matthew 25:24, those were his words. Because you're unable to believe that, your salvation is in question. You said you believe the truth, yet you don't. And this is from your Savior. Now, look, I'm not here to convince you, but I am damn sure going to sound the alarm on this because this is serious and this is important. Because if you've led people into a false understanding, not only will they pay, but you will too. Y'all better wake up and you better figure this out. You cannot make excuses because you're too scared to preach the gospel to people. So what if they rail? So what if they mock? So what if they scoff? Let them. If it gets too bad, pack your stuff and move out. God does not require you to stay there and put up with that stuff. What he does require you to do is to stand up for him, stand up for the gospel, and stand up for the kingdom, and stand up for the truth. If you're not willing to do that, you have no business putting videos out, and you have no business preaching to people. You have no business talking to people about Christ, because you are not rooted in truth. You don't have to believe it. You can deny it all you want to. You don't have to believe it. I'm not here to convince you. But the fact of the matter is, you've been warned. So if you fall, your blood will not be on my hands. I am not taking that with me to heaven. Y'all better figure this out. Because there's a whole bunch of you out there that have a lot of blood on your hands. And you got very little time to fix it. Very little. In fact, I dare say you probably don't have enough time to fix it. I'm not saying this because I like to hear my own voice. I'm not saying this because I like to see myself on camera. I'm not saying this because I get subs and upvotes and good comments and everything. I'm saying this because it's real. It's right now. And the end of this age is about to happen. And when it does, all those things that you did, you cannot take back. All those people you led astray, you cannot lead them to Christ. How many people do you really think you've led to salvation? How many people do you really think you've helped if you're teaching them hell is not eternal? Wake up, people. It's crunch time. This is the end. And if you don't do this right, he will require something of you.